In the next step we're gonna need the hex editor, but before that there are some preparations to be made. So let's first extract the cogswap.rrr and dulaunch.elf.zip file we downloaded earlier. So this gives us two new files, cogswap.elf and uncompressedboot.elf. Then you make two copies of the boot file called SLES or SLUS or whatever. Rename them and put cogswap in the name of the first one. The second one gets launch put in its name. That concludes the preparations and we can now continue installing the hex editor. Accept the license agreement and hit the next button until it finishes. Now what we're going to do is take the original PS2 boot file and inject the ELF files we extracted into it. This is also known as infecting, as it's something only viruses or other bad software would normally do. If we later boot that file on our PS2, the PlayStation will be tricked into thinking it's starting a game while actually running the injected code. So let's get going. First, open the cogswap.elf file. Scroll down all the way to the bottom. On the left you see those hexadecimal values. Remember or write down what it says in the last row. Only the part after the lowercase x is important. In the cogswap version I use, it's E320. Then you select the whole content of the file. This really is a pain in the ass in this editor, as you aren't able to just press Ctrl A. Instead, you have to put the cursor onto the last value using your mouse, hold Shift and Ctrl while then pressing Home. Right-click it and select Copy or Kopieren, as it's called in German. You can close that now. Next, open the cogswap SELS file. Go to the search menu and select Gehe zu, which is German for go to. Enter the hexadecimal value from the cogswap.elf file, E320. There we are. Note that in the leftmost column, the zeros between the lowercase x and E320 can be ignored. They are just there because the boot file is larger than the cogswap file. Now you again put the cursor on the last element of that line and select everything to the top of the file. This time you select Paste or Einfügen. Save it, close it and then repeat the same thing again for the uncompressed boot elf and the launch SELS file. Note that in the uncompressed boot elf file, the data doesn't finish at the end of the line but 4 fields early. You gotta remember that as well as the address, which is EF6F0 in this case. Copy it. Open launch SELS. Go to line DF6F0 and put the cursor on the 5th position from the right, so the rightmost 4 stay unchanged. Select to the top of the file, paste, save and close. Now these patched files somehow need a way to get into our game image. This is where Apache comes in. It doesn't need an installation, just extract it into the folder and it's ready to go. In Apache, open the image of your game. Select the SELS or whatever boot file and go to Update selected file in ISO Tools menu. There, point it to our cogswap infected boot file. You'll have to type a star in the file name field first, else the file won't show up. After you click open, it will directly replace the file in the ISO, so there's no need to save manually. That's it for the moment, the other infected file will be used later. Insert an empty DVD and start up IMG burn. Select the game image and the lowest possible burning speed supported by your media. In my case, this means 2 times. It takes ages for burning, but I often heard the disk drives in PlayStation 2 systems have a much easier time reading backups burned at low speeds. And you're not going to burn hundreds of backups a day, right? I think watching the progress bar grow is not that interesting, so I'm gonna skip it over. Once it finishes, take out the DVD and label it as cogswap. While you're at it, you can put the next empty DVD right in, as we're going to need it now. Again, you open up Apache and repeat the same steps for the launch SELS file. Open the game image, select the boot file, go to Update Selected File from ISO Tools menu, and select the launch SELS whatever file. Again, you have to type in the star first. Close it, reopen IMG, burn and burn the image again. Watch out for the write speed setting, as on my system it sometimes resets to something stupid. Start the burning, and then again wait for half a century. Damn, let's skip this. Once it's finished, the software preparations are complete. Take out the DVD and label it as launch. Now let's head over to our PlayStation and see how to make that fucknut start up our infected disk. Obviously it won't do that voluntarily, since it's a burnt disk. We'll see later on how it figures that out and what we can do about it, but from this point on nothing goes without opening the console. There are a total of 8 screws on the bottom. 4 of them covered by plastic caps, the other 4 covered by rubber pads, which the PlayStation would normally stand on. We only need to remove the 6 ones marked with red circles, the blue ones can stay untouched. I guess you need them in case you have to change the drive unit. Pull out the caps with a knife. Some just come out by lifting one side, while others might need a bit more attention. Remember to put those in a safe place, so they don't get lost. Use the big Phillips head screwdriver to remove all those screws. Oh, almost forgot. You also need to remove the plastic front cover of the tray, or else we won't be able to get the cover off. This is pretty easy while it's still laying on its top. Just power it on for one last time. Open the tray and carefully flip out the end next to the controller ports using your thumb. The other end will most likely be a bit harder, but it's basically the same thing. Put the tray back in, power off and unplug the power cord. Then carefully turn it back upright and we are ready to open the case. Watch out for the seal of warranty at the back, which most likely needs to get cut first. Also take care not to get stuck with the controller ports on the front. Lift the case on the back and push it a little forward so they come out. Then turn the case over to the side where the buttons are located. Be really careful here if you're opening a PlayStation for the first time, as this metallic flat cable originally is taped to the cover of the drive. Do never pull on that cable too hard, because if it gets loose under the drive or wherever it's going, I heard it's really a pain to get it back in, and without it you won't be able to power up the system. The best way in my opinion is to just remove the whole button thing from the case. See that little half-cylinder shaped bit in there? That's where you put your finger and lift it up so it flips off the entourage. Then push it in from the front, take it out and put that stupid big case away. Back to the disk drive. It has 4 screws on its top, which we need to remove using the small Phillips head screwdriver. Now lift off the cover. Notice that little white plastic thingy? You're gonna need that, so carefully flip it out. It shouldn't take too much force.